Hi, here we are again, Charlie Hamlin and Andy Card out here getting ready for the second varsity row of the Harvard-Yale Regatta. And we're 3 miles from the finish and 1 mile from the Gold Star Bridge for 95, waiting for the start of this race. And Andy, it's going to be a great race, and it's even going to be perhaps a much faster race as the sea breezes begin to kick in here.
Right, the wind has really turned around, and we're looking at a very gentle headwind for the the 3V race,
Yeah.
the 2-miler. Now the conditions are completely reversed, and you do have a nice breeze, about 4.5, 5 miles now, kicking up just a little bit of chop.
Yeah.
Not really chop, but just a little bit of ripples on the water. That's going to make this a very fast race, I think.
It's gonna, and I would predict that this wind will actually come up as the thermal begins to come in, and the breeze off the sound enters the river and could make for very fast times.
Yeah, these next two races are going to be fantastic rows and very fast times, I think.
I want to remind the listeners out there that you're seeing this on the Ivy League Digital Network with our good friend Imri Levy working the video and helping us with the sound, and thanks to WICH up in Norwich. We've been corrected here, it's not Norwich, it's Norwich. The radio coming to you via their facilities. So this race, the second varsity race, is for the F. Valentine Chapel Trophy, the long-standing trophy here for the regatta. The dual records, as we look at the Harvard crew, they were 6-2. They lost to Brown and Northeastern through the course of the season. At the sprints, they were 6th in the final. And at the IRA, they won the petite final, so they were really 7th overall. A little bit, I think the Yale crew had a little bit better record than that.
Well, they didn't race as many times. They were only 4-2, and they were 5th at the sprints and also 5th at the IRA, so they made the grand final.
Yeah. So when you start to look at these sort of times, in the dual races, as Andy just said, Harvard was 6-2 and Yale was 4-2. In the sprints, the time for Harvard in 6th was 2 seconds slower than the Yale boat, and at the IRA it was 3 seconds slower than the Yale boat. So on paper, the Yale should be the slight favorite here, but 2 or 3 seconds over 3 miles is not a lot of difference.
Yeah, it's a completely different row today, 2,000 meters with other opponents. Now they can focus on each other and try to do the job over 3 miles. So this is a race distance that's very familiar to these teams as they race this distance often in the fall and, of course, during training. But it's something different when you're going up against one other opponent that looks to be your equal in this one. Very exciting.
Well, we went with the Harvard lineups for the 3V. Tell us what the Yale lineup is going to be, and we'll switch it around here.
Sure. Well, we were talking earlier about how the freshman rowing is no more. It's now just a 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Well, the Yale JV is composed primarily of freshmen. There are 6 freshmen in this crew, including the coxswain, no sophomores, and a junior and 1 senior. And we'll go down the lineup real quick here. The coxswain is Grant Louie. He's a freshman from Hinsdale, Illinois, and Deerfield Academy. The stroke is Lucas Pilert. He's a freshman, 6'6", from Sewickley, Pennsylvania, and Central Catholic High School. 7 seed, Kevin Kiernan, 6'5", 195. He's a freshman from Hatfield, Pennsylvania, and St. Joe's Prep down in Philadelphia. The 6th seed is Oscar O'Reilly. He's a freshman also, 6'6", 212, from Sydney, Australia, from Geelong Grammar School. And his 5 seat also went to Geelong. He's also a freshman, Dougal Hamilton. He's 6'6", 220 from Wagga Wagga, Australia. And as I said, member of Geelong Grammar School, right in the middle at 5 and 6. The 4 now is our senior. He's the captain, Lion Van Voorhees. He's a senior, as I said, 6'7", 200 pounds, right up the road from Mattapoisett, Mass. and Falmouth Academy. 3 seed Cole Tilden, the freshman, 6'8", 195 from St. Xavier High School in Cincinnati. 2 seed, our international, another international, this time from Europe, Clemens Barth, a senior, 6'4", 195 from Berlin, Germany. And our bow is Adam Smith, not the economist, but the bowman. He's a junior, 6'4", 188 pounds from Auckland, New Zealand, and Auckland Grammar School.
Big boys.
Yes, and Adam Smith actually was the stroke of the Yale Varsity in 2013.
Well, there you go. Big boys. Well, anyway, if you looking at the Harvard second varsity boat, it's coxed by Jesse Itzikoff out of Miami, Florida. Henry Kenley, my nephew and son of a two-time silver medalist, Richard Kenley, is sitting at the stroke seat from Manchester, Mass. Travis Taff from Sarasota sits at 7. Curtis McLeod from Australia sits in the 6th seat. Max Ferguson from Miami Beach is in the 5 seat. Ed Rippon from Peterborough, England is in the 4 seat. James Johnston from Cape Town, South Africa is in the 3 seat. James Crawford from Q East in Australia is in the 2 seat, and the bow is held down by Ben Strathmore from Camberwell, Australia. And this is a young boat, Andy. 3 freshmen, 3 sophomores, 1 junior, and 2 seniors. So six of the guys behind the oars are in their first or second year of collegiate rowing. 4 Americans, 3 Aussies, 1 Brit, and 1 South African. So again, another eclectic mix of nationalities here in the Harvard boat. So this crew is smaller and shorter than the Yale crew, averaging 194 and 6'3". And I didn't do the averages for yours, but it sounds as if it's a little bit bigger, a little bit taller.
Yeah, certainly taller, and with a lot of experience. These, despite being freshmen, they rowed a lot. It used to be, of course, that a lot of freshmen would learn to row when they got to college. Not so for these 2 programs. They draw upon, a world of talent, if you will. And as we can see, there's
let
Kiwis,
me ask you
Australians,
that. Let me ask you this. Now, I remember asking you this last year, but with this year, perhaps your view has changed. But what drives so many internationals in these crews?
Well, in every country, you have your top 30 kids, and if you just recruit from America, you'll get your share of those top 30 kids. But if you go to the top, there's a top 30 in Britain and Australia and New Zealand and France and so forth.
Yeah.
So you have a much broader chance of getting the top, one of the top 5 recruits in each of those countries if you go stretch your search.
Now, one of the things that's true, isn't generally true, but the guys that are international come to us from these various countries, they probably have rowed more than the guys that from the U.S.
No question, and probably rowed a lot more in smaller boats as well, pairs, singles, that sort of thing, and not just the big boats, the 8s. I'm measuring the wind here, not to change the subject here, but now the tailwind now is about up to between 7 and 8 miles an hour, and it looks to be building throughout.
Wow. Again, we could have very fast times. I think we looked at the record for this race. We'll try to bring that. The record is 13:38 for the upstream time. There could be a chance we'd break that today.
Yeah, particularly if these 2 crews push each other all the way down the course. If it's a tight race, and it looks like we're ready. And here we go. We're on the start. Some short strokes from Harvard, obviously. Yale taking a little bit longer strokes.
And Harvard off at a 43, Yale
42.
With this wind coming up, still the conditions are relatively flat here, so there's really no issue in terms of the rowing with regard to the wind, to regard to the waves. So you're really getting a nice push from the wind without having to tolerate or having to wrestle with heavy water.
Right now, Harvard's doing a nice job of keeping the gunnel stable through the finish. Yale's rocking around a little bit in there. Could be just excitement for this 3-miler. They're burning off a little bit of energy. Looks like Harvard has a little bit of a lead. As we swing around to the side here, we'll get a little better perspective, but small lead for Harvard at the moment. It's about a minute into the race.
Yale pushing back a little bit now, I'd say it's maybe 3/4 of a length. You can see better on the digital network here. Maybe half a length, maybe only half a length now. Yale's moving quite well here.
Well, it's a matter of getting into your breathing and getting a little rhythm, and you try to stay very internal in this kind of racing because your rhythm is so important. It's got to last over the distance. At the same time, you don't want to concede any advantage to the other team.
Well, from our perspective here, and for those who don't see it on the video, it is stern on stern here, bow ball on bow ball.
Yeah, Harvard has a seat, maybe 2.
Yeah.
A little look over there from...
I'm just watching the coxswains, and they're just sort of sharing. One goes ahead, the next goes ahead, depending on what stroke you're on.
Yeah. I wish Yale would keep the boat a little more stable through the finish, get a little more run to it. certainly throwing a lot of power at it.
Yeah.
Harvard a little bit smoother.
Now Harvard's taking a bit of a move here. You know, I'm again looking across here, watching the coxswains. And now a seat or more on Harvard as they go through the half-mile gone.
Right, under 2.5 minutes. And these channel markers are often a good spot to focus on taking a move. Harvard's trying to push a little bit here.
Harvard at 35, settling in and making a little bit of a move here. You got to say 3 seats here now on the Harvard crew over Yale.
Well, they're picking it up just a little bit better together off the front. Every guy is trying to find the load, but Harvard seems to be picking it off just a little bit better at the front than Yale.
Harvard now with 5 seats, 4.5, 5 seats. Nice move through the half mile. You know, the crews tend to, and I really wonder why, to move right at the stakes. You know, why not move 20 strokes before the stakes and try to make a move before you get to them, or afterwards?
Psychological, it's a good anchor point.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's a point where some crew comes off the gas.
Yeah.
Not that they want to, but that's kind of what happens.
Well, see, now Yale's coming back. It's now 4 seats. It was almost 5 as Harvard took that big move at the half mile gone. And now Yale is moving. Yale's moving well. It's down to 3 seats.
Yeah,
to 3 seats.
They were 34.5. Now they're 36. This is a nice response from Yale right here. This is a very good response.
Yes, now Yale is really putting on the gas here and taking the lead. Now 2 seats on the part of Yale. This is nice growing.
Yeah. Now they're coming into and Yale has taken the lead here by Mammocoke Hill. It's a very nice job here by the Bulldogs. They took a
big move there.
They took a good attack from Harvard. They gave up some ground to that.
Maybe they heard me. They did the move before the stakes. Now we'll watch and see what Harvard does at the mile gone. 2 miles to go.
Right. Yale is pouring it on now. A little too early to look for the finish line, of course, as they go through the mile mark here in 4:35 to Harvard's 4:37. That's a little deceiving because the flags are not level. It's really about a third of a length right now.
Harvard's got to make a move, I think, now. Got to stay in the race.
A little look over from the stroke Lucas from Yale. Take a little measure, see where Harvard is. See if they make an attack. Good, a little look over from Cox and Grant Louis.
Harvard at 34. Yale at, I'll get it in a second, 35, slightly overstroking Harvard. I think the Harvard's now holding this position, just holding this position. Yale is not moving out. They got a nice half-length, maybe third half-length lead here.
Mm-hmm. Rhythm's going to be important right here. Rhythm is going to be very important. Can you maintain your position or just move an inch further every stroke without going too deep into the well? Without having to go
Yale
max.
seems to be moving again.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Another big push here by Yale. Bowman, Coxon looking over maybe on the 2-man in the Harvard boat, maybe even the bowman now.
Right. So now the stroke of Yale is on the bowman of Harvard. Slowly they're moving away. 6 minutes down in the race, 6:05. They just have to maintain their pressure throughout the length of the draw. They don't want to cut off the finish too much. That's both crews. I'm just watching the stroke of the Yale 8.
One of the things I'm seeing here too is that a little bit more swing in that Yale boat, a little bit more layback in the Yale boat, whereas the Harvard boat is rowing very upright right through the stroke.
Well, they're holding serve. Here we go. 1.5 miles to go now. 6:40, 6:43. It's not quite a length yet. It's still, the Yale stroke is on the Harvard bowman. And now let's see if Harvard makes a little bit of an attack. This is a great race, I will say that. Very exciting. We've seen Harvard have a fairly significant lead and Yale come through. And now Yale is moving. He's almost on the bow ball. the coxswain. I like the focus in the Yale boat. I haven't
Harvard's
seen
up
too many,
at 36 now, and
Yep.
Yale.
I haven't seen Yale peek over too many times. That's good focus.
36 and 36 here.
They're almost ready to break this to get open water. We're talking to the Yale guys. Almost there. Just have to be very patient, but very consistent. And now it's a length. And it is a length about 750 into the race.
Got to make a move now.
Yep.
Got to make a move now.
Yale coxswain took a long look at that Harvard bow ball, not just seeing where they were at the moment, but also where's the momentum in the Harvard shell. Are they coming back, or are they just holding position, or is Yale moving away? That was a nice move by the Yale coxswain. Now he's focused on his own crew. Yale should be feeling very good at this point in terms of their position and their advantage. Now they have to hold on to it. You know, you've got a very experienced two-man in there in Clemens Barth. He's been through this race 3 times now, and this is his 4th trial.
Yeah. They're looking pretty relaxed in that Yale boat. It's, you know, in contrast to what we saw in the 3V boat. You know, getting out there, swinging along.
Now it's a minute later, and Grant also, he has to turn his head to the Yale coxswain quite a bit to check out the Harvard bow ball. They have open water, and I'm sure he's letting his crew know that. Through the stakes at 9:02 for Yale, and Harvard 9:07. So they've got about a seat or 2 of open water now.
Yep.
And Yale can taste it.
And we got a mile to go.
Yep.
Yeah, Yale continues to eke out. Move away now. It's almost half a length, if not 3/4 of a length. On the part of Yale over Harvard.
Well, this is nice. Yale continues to keep moving away. Well, it's nice for Yale supporters, I'll say that.
Yale's been...
Yale rowing on the east shore.
Yep.
You can look at all the different currents that are coming in, though, here, Charlie, to our right.
Yeah, yep.
It's a tricky river. Maybe not quite as tricky as the Thames in London, but it has its own wiles.
Right. Well, you can see here, I mean, you'll catch it on the video, you can see this green can, if you will, really leaning upstream, indicating how much current there is carrying these boats north. It's got to be at least 2 knots here. They're running upstream.
Yeah, Yale continuing. It's about 2 or 3 seats open water lead.
Yale at 33 now. They're really taking it down. Harvard.
It's about control and command of the race, and that's
36
where
at Harvard, 33. Harvard's closed it actually a little bit here, but still a long way to go.
Yeah, no, at 33, all Yale would have to do, if Harvard were to come back significantly, they just have to raise the rate to match Harvard. This is a real nice position for Yale to be in. And it's a half mile to go. Right now, it's about 11-12 down for Yale.
Harvard's still rowing at 36.
All right, 11-18. 6-second gap. I like the poise out of the Yale coxswain. Yeah, he's just looking over, taking the measure.
But certainly Harvard, you got to give it to Harvard. They've closed a little bit here, and Yale's taken the stroke back rate back up again to a 36. So it's 36-36 here. Bowman of the Harvard boat taking a look around and saying, we're not giving it up yet.
Nope. They're closing. But as I said, the senior, Clemens Barth, the 2-seat. He's got a lot of experience.
Now Yale's responding, and they've opened it up a little bit here in response to the push that Harvard just put through.
You know, for a lot of these Yale freshmen, if they hold this lead, their only experience of the boat race is victory.
Yale now moving out a little bit. Moving out a little bit. Back out to almost a half a length now in response. That they've carried that stroke rate up a little bit, and that's proved effective.
You can see the fatigue in both these crews now. They're about almost 13 minutes down, and they're having to work to hold it together. There's a little bit of the tracks or slides are getting a little shorter.
Harvard's still at 36,
Yeah,
trying to push back.
Yep.
They've got to move now. I mean, you got to throw it all in here. We got about 30 strokes to go.
Oscar Riley at 6 feet doing a very nice job. He's very horizontal for the Yale crew. Yeah, the coxswain, Grant Louie, keeping an eye. Now they're throwing it in. Throwing in some extra shots here for the crowd. They can feel it.
Harvard at 38. Yale 35. And
13:43. 13:47, about 4.5 seconds. That was a masterful
great race.
job.
A great
yes.
race. A great race by both crews. Harvard taking the lead right off the start, and then in that big push.
Right.
That big push, Yale just moved through. Harvard, couple responses, closed it, lost it, closed it, lost it, and here we have with a 4-second. That, my friends, is the great big yacht here with the Yale colors celebrating the win of the second varsity boat. So a great race. So this one, the times again, you
Right.
get them.
Yes, I'll give you that in a second. It was 13:43.4.
13:43.4
for Yale and 13:47.8.
Great.
So about a 4.5 second margin of victory. And
just the opposite of the third boat.
right.
Third boat.
There's the captain, Lion Van Voorhees. He's standing up and crawling around, congratulating the only senior in the boat, Clemens Barth. You know, that crew, the JV crew, has been through. You talked about Harvard coxswain racking up a shell on the buoy.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing happened to the Yale crew. They damaged their shell in training, and they had to go down to Wintech Racing and borrow a shell. And it worked out for them. They like that gray thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it strikes me that boat is actually, it looks to me shorter than the Empacher.
It's a pretty long boat, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Wintechs are not short.
But anyway.
And so they showed a lot of resolve, jumping in a new boat and making it go.
So I guess it's the rubber match is the next one, isn't it?
Sure.
One for Harvard, one for Yale, and we'll see what happens in the 1V, and we'll be back to you shortly. Take care as we go all the way back down to the 95, the Gold Star Bridge, and get ready for the final.